Audi calls this seat in the A8L the relaxation seat. You know what? I think it's possibly the most appropriate name for it. It's subtle, not too in your face, and it perfectly describes what's going on here. I'm very relaxed. It's only proper to start the review of this 2022 A8L from the back seat. But don't worry, because in this video we're going to tell you everything you need to know about this car. Apart from the back seat, we're going to talk about styling, about the front seats, about the features that it has, about what's new for 2022, about how it drives, and there's a very cool trick in the suspension, so stick around for that. Now before we go ahead with this review, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Evo India channel so you don't miss another video drop, and leave a comment down below. What do you think of this Audi A8L compared to something like the Mercedes-Benz S-Class? Before we get into all of the kit that this back seat has, I need to point out that this Audi A8L now comes with the option of a 4-seater as well as a 5-seater. Earlier you could only get it with a 4-seater. What the 5-seater gets you, essentially it deletes this entire center console. You've got a flip down armrest like a conventional car has, and it's got some fancy controls over here, but you can flip that up and get an extra seat over here. Now this is the 4-seater, so you get this nice console over here, and honestly this is my pick of the lot. Now in terms of space, it's got plenty of space. This car has a very long wheelbase. It's not as long as the S-Class or the 7 Series, but it's long enough. It's not like those extra matter at this point. I've got my seat reclined back. I've got the front seat pushed completely forward. There's a footrest that flips out, and I'm very comfortable over here. The seats, they're firm, they're comfortable, they hold you well, and you've also got a ton of features within them. So you've got massage functions built into the seat. You've also got a massage function built into that backrest, so you can massage the soles of your feet. It's really something. I've never seen that in other cars before. It was very special. You've got this tablet over here which controls a lot of the features around the car. Earlier you could eject it and take the tablet into your hand, but you can't seem to do that anymore. But it's got all of the functionality in here. You can control the massage functions, you can control the ambient lights, you can control the AC, you can control the media, you can also control the matrix lights. Yes, this has matrix reading lights, so you can control their intensity, where they fall on your lap, how they fall on your lap, all sorts of ridiculous stuff like that. Now, in terms of storage areas, you've got a lot of storage areas at the back. So you've got 2 cup holders in there. You've got this tray in here, perfect for your phone, with Type-C USB ports. You've got another tray in here, too small for a phone, but perfect for coins, if A8 owners use coins. Below that, you've got large cup holders and door pockets in there. You've also got storage in here, and that's also very cool. You can spec a refrigerator in there, but it's not on this car. And if you want some secret storage, if you've got something illegal to move around, check this out. This entire thing rises up, and you've got a huge area in here, again felt lined, so you can store your drugs. But yes, that is the back seat of the Audi A8L. Very comfortable, very, very subtle, but so plush. And it has one more trick up its sleeve. You've heard of soft closed doors, right? This has soft open doors, so all you need to do is just tug at that and you can push the door open. Let's head outside and check out what's happening on the outside. Now let's quickly run through the styling changes on the Audi A8. From the rear, there's not too much that has changed. It's the typical facelift stuff. You've got mild details in the lights that are different, but the light bar, the chrome strip, the way the bumpers look, all of that has mostly stayed the same. Come over to the side, and once again, not much has changed. Overall design of the A8 from the side is very subtle, very understated, not very brash and in your face, not many stylistic elements, and that looks neat in my opinion. You've got this chrome strip running along the floor, but apart from that, not too much stylized stuff. You've got 19-inch wheels. These are standard across the range, whether you choose the base variant or the top end variant. And when you come to the front, that's where the real big changes for this facelift are. Audi's done what BMW is doing. They're going full in your face, and they've done that with this large grille with a lot of chrome in it. I think there's a little too much chrome in it for my liking. I actually love how the S8 looks with its complete blacked out grille. But this, it's very shiny, very in your face. you've got these digital matrix LED lights. Now what's cool about these is they have 1.3 million micro mirrors, and they essentially split up the light from the LEDs into individual pixels and project them onto the road. What that allows you to do is have a lot of control over the spread of the light, of where it falls, of how it falls, and you can blank out patches so you don't dazzle traffic. There are also changes to the grille which make it look a little more aggressive. Down here, around the fog lights, all of that has been changed. Now let's head inside and see what it's like from the driver's seat. Did you see that? That is essentially the car lifting itself by 50 millimeters. It does that every time you open any of the doors, and that's done to aid ingress and egress. I think it's a very cool touch. Makes getting in a lot easier. You don't have to sit on the floor or pull yourself off the floor. Very neat touch, Audi. Step inside the Audi A8, start it up. And things are very familiar in here. You've got virtual cockpit, which is standard across most of the Audi range now, and it's a very nice unit, very high-res display. Information comes at you easily, very easy to use, very good on Audi for keeping that around. Obviously, it would be around on the A8. Here, you've got this twin touchscreen setup. Now, again, this is shared with a number of other cars in Audi range. It's not very new. There are goods and bads to this. It's not like a typical touchscreen in that it has haptic feedback. So every time you click something, it gives you a small vibration and a little bit of a click. So you know you have clicked something. There is some degree of feedback in it. What I don't like is that this touchscreen is positioned lower down. Now that's a criticism I have of all Audis with this setup. It's just something I'm not too much of a fan of, because using these AC controls when you're driving is a little difficult. You have to take your eyes a fair bit off the road. Apart from that, the cabin is very spacious, very comfortable. You've got this large central tunnel. You're a fair distance away from your passenger, so it gives you that feel of airiness. You've got very high quality materials all around. I love the open pore finish on the wood. It feels really expensive, really nice. All of the materials used, even the plastics, feel really good. If I do have one complaint though, and that's just at one point in the cabin, this. It's a bit, I don't know how you put it, not very well finished. And it's only this point. This part of the cabin is perfectly fine. It's just this piece that's a little squeaky. That aside, there is one flourish that I absolutely love on the A8, and for that I'm going to have to turn the AC vents completely off and watch this. They get tucked away in there behind a wood panel. How cool is that? You want to bring them back? You just open the vents again and it comes back. And in fact, every time you start the car, every time you turn off the car, that happens. And it's not just those center vents, even the side vents do that. I absolutely love it. It's such subtle drama. It's so nice. Well, let's get driving this Audi A8 and see what it's like. Right, so the Audi A8. What's new under the hood? Nothing. It's got the same 3-litre petrol V6, turbocharged, makes 335 horsepower, 500 Nm of torque. It is essentially the same engine. It also gets the same mild hybrid system. So the drivetrain in a sense is pretty much the same. Performance is good. With 335 horsepower, you can actually get this car to hustle. It's a heavy car, it's a big car, but that doesn't mean it won't move. It does 0 to 100 in under 6 seconds, and that's quite something for such a large car. The engine, it's one that likes to rev. It revs very freely, it revs very energetically. It likes to be used if you want to drive it hard. Not that this is a car you want to drive hard, but should you be in the mood to really hustle it, should you be wanting to make quick overtakes on the highway, drop 2 gears and floor it. Absolutely wonderful. What also stands out about it is the refinement. It's a very smooth, refined motor. You can hear it when you really rev it out, because it is a petrol engine and you can hear some of that, but it's a very nice sound. It's a sweet sounding engine. At lower revs, it's absolutely silent, completely silent. You can barely hear the engine in the cabin, and there is 0 vibrations. You can't feel anything through the floor, through the pedals. It's smooth. It's just a smooth drivetrain. This is an engine that enjoys being driven in a relaxed manner, and if you drive it like that, it will reward you with that silence, with that tranquility in the cabin, and without compromising on performance, because when you want to let it rip, it will rip. Something cool about this drivetrain, when you're cruising at highway speeds, it will kill the engine and run only on electricity. So the mild hybrid kicks in, it keeps it coasting at that set speed only on electrical energy. And while that's not the cool part is it can shift gears while it's coasting on electrical energy. So it doesn't take time to wake up and then shift. If you want to shift, it will give it to you as soon as it wakes up. Now in terms of the drive modes, you've got a couple of drive modes in here. You go to the drive select, you've got auto, which is what I was driving it in most of the time. You can put it into dynamic. Dynamic makes the drivetrain a lot sharper. The shifts are a little more aggressive. The shifts come at you later, so it holds gears longer and it feels just that much more snappy. The downside is the ride quality becomes stiffer. Now that does aid handling. So if you are in the hills, on smooth hills, you will enjoy that in dynamic mode. But for the most part, in the city, running around town, you'll never want to put it into dynamic mode because it's just too stiff and you lose that plushness that the A8 is so good at. This particular car is spec'd with the optional predictive suspension, and that is really nice. If you're getting an A8, you have to spec your car with this. I think it's an absolute must, and I'll tell you why. Low speed ride quality is very good. I would not say excellent, I'd say very good, because you do feel a slight filtering of smaller bumps and sharper bumps into the cabin. I would have liked that to be filtered out a little more, but the ride quality objectively is very, very good. What really surprised me is how it deals with breakers, how it deals with bigger bumps. It is just phenomenal. This predictive suspension, it does a couple of things. How it works is it essentially has e-motors in each of the suspensions, and it can essentially control how the suspension works. You remember Mercedes-Benz, they had done that with their SUVs. They gave it that bounce mode. Yeah, it also has the ability to lean into corners so that it counters the body roll. All of that stuff, that's the sort of technology that this A8 is running. So when you come up to a breaker, it does one of two things, right? Sometimes it will just hoik itself up on its suspension. That 50 millimeters of travel that it increased when I was getting into the car, it just pumps itself up on that, and then you glide over the suspension. The wheels come closer to the body and further from the body, and the body barely moves. These big speed breakers, they feel like minor humps in the road. You wouldn't even believe that you went over a speed breaker if you had your eyes blindfolded or something like that. The second way it reacts to bumps is if you approach a speed breaker like this. Here it didn't raise itself up, but what it essentially did is once the wheels dropped, it prevented the nose from pitching. So it essentially held the nose up and prevented it from going down and you feeling a bounce inside the cabin. So you go over the breaker, the nose rises, but then it doesn't fall. It gently lets itself down. Very, very controlled. It's not something you can even perceive, that letting down of the nose. It's really, really well done. The way that it works is it uses the camera in the nose to scan the road ahead and then predict what it's going to do and how it's going to react. I think it's phenomenal. I was driving it to the shoot location this morning. Pune has these extremely strange speed breakers. They lift it up, then they're flat, and they go down on the other side. I just couldn't feel any of them because the car was just gliding over them. It was just doing its own thing, working that predictive suspension so effectively. And it's really magic. I'm so impressed with this car's ride quality, especially over breakers like these. You do have to slow down. You don't want to bottom the car out, but my God, does it take them well. What about composure on the highway? Bang on. It's beautiful on the highway. In fact, if you're somebody who needs to drive between Bombay and Pune, do these long highway runs, it's phenomenally good because it's just so quiet on the highway. Once you're up to cruising speeds, you barely hear any wind noise, you barely hear any node noise. The engine is absolutely silent. It's a beautiful experience. It's so calming, so calming. That was a speed breaker. Did you see that? I barely even moved. That was a proper speed breaker. I barely moved. It's really impressive, this thing. So impressive. Driving the A8 is fun. It's a very serene experience. It's a very calming experience. It's not a car you want to hustle. A 7 Series sometimes eggs you on it. Sometimes chavi maros you into driving it hard. The A8 doesn't do that. It doesn't even pretend to be a sporty car. Even in the way it looks, even the way it drives, it has no pretensions, and that's really good. You're surrounded by an oasis of calm inside the A8, and while driving it is nice, that backseat is where it's at. Man, I'd want a car like an A8. What's my verdict on it? For that, we're going to have to step back outside the car. In terms of prices, the Audi A8 costs rupees 1.28 crores for the Celebration Edition, rupees 1.57 crores for the Technology Edition, which is this one that we're driving. I never thought I'd say this about an A8, but that Celebration Edition actually seems like a steal. You look at where the prices of the 7 Series of the S-Class is, they don't start below 1.5 crores. The S-Class, rupees 1.6 crores. This is actually very good value. The Celebration misses out on a few things. You don't get the digital matrix LEDs, you get regular matrix LEDs. You don't get the option of a 4-seater, you get a downgraded sound system, you get some different leather. Not major stuff. And I think that's the sweet spot with the Audi A8 range. The technology trim, it runs the S-Class a little bit too close for comfort. But that's not to say it isn't a superbly competent car. It's powerful, it's comfortable. That back seat is to die for, one of the best in the business without a doubt. I don't see why you wouldn't want to buy one of these.